Good morning, everybody. My voice is sort of back. How's everybody doing out there? Wow, on this we're back to winter kind of day. But my name is Victoria Lorient-Faibish. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I'm a relationship expert, and I may cough a little bit in this interview, not in this interview, in this wonderful conversation I'm having with you guys. But this is Ask Me Anything Day, so I'm hoping people have submitted some of their questions, and they've been some doozies. So I will be endeavoring to answer some of them, and I hope a couple of people come online and ask me some stuff spontaneously. But I do have 3 or 4 really good ones, which I will spend a little time on. But I just want to welcome you to my live broadcast. I will be doing a number of these again. I took a little break because I was under the weather. It was one of those moments of being under the weather that we seem to have here in Canada. But anyways, nevertheless, I want to welcome you, and I'm just going to wait for a few more people to come online. But I want to welcome you on this kind of crummy day here in Toronto. Yay, we have snow again. It's April. We have snow again. We have sleet. We have ice. But that's okay. I have my orchids, and my orchids are just my pals, my beautiful pals. So I want to just, I want to talk to you guys about radical relationship rescue, which is important because people don't always have access to a therapist. So I thought I would, give you some insights into a few things. So I'm going to read a couple of questions, a couple really good ones. How do you maintain intimacy with your partner when you or they have been affected by sexual trauma? How do you have difficult conversations? And also, how do you learn to relax and be at peace with intimacy? Well, it's an excellent question. I would say that a lot of people who have partners with sexual trauma, the most important thing, I believe, is to be patient and also to understand that the difficult conversations need to be had outside of the bedroom. Good morning, Emily. Thank you for joining me. Need to be had outside of the bedroom. So when you have a partner with intimacy issues, with trauma, sexual trauma, this is going to be, the domain of extreme patience. Patience is what you need to be looking at with dealing with someone, because the truth is that your partner has obviously bestowed upon you a tremendous amount of trust. And so you cannot rush them. You must take it really slow and really easy. And you also have to understand that their successes may be micro incremental. So for you, that might be slow. So too slow. So make sure you're getting some support as well. Let me get some water. I've had many cases that I have worked with, but I would say that there is some real opportunity for building tremendous trust and tremendous rapport with the person who you have a deep relationship with, who has intimacy and trauma issues in the sexual realm. So it has to be the slower the better, the more patient the better, and also there's no rushing this, and also I would say a good therapist for them as well, so that maybe the two of you are seeing a therapist together, and maybe you're seeing a therapist individually. This is a very, very impactful thing on a relationship. And I want to tell you that there's no real way around the mountain on this. You have to know that it's got to be slow, it's got to be easy, and it's got to be something that is really respectful and boundaried. And the other person has to feel like if they can't trust you, nothing is going to work. I just want you to know that. So sexual trauma is a really, really tough thing, and those who go through it are suffering tremendously. So slow it down and understand that patience is really what's going to help you. And they will develop a bond with you that is very, very special. So in terms of that question, maintaining intimacy, you maintain the intimacy outside of the sexuality. You maintain intimacy by building trust. You maintain intimacy by creating rapport, and also by really, really, you have to really commit to no sexuality for a while. And that's tough, but you still maintain intimacy. Does not necessarily need to be sexual. It can be emotional. It can be, relational. It can be about patience. It can be all about building rapport. So this is not easy, what I'm suggesting in a coupled situation. So work with that. Also, I want to answer a really tough question. Is there sometimes too much pain in a relationship history to continue? And this is a bigger question here. Like in the case of an abusive parent, or is it more healthy to set boundaries? Well, it's always more healthy to set boundaries. And so, especially with a parent who's sort of, you've had a lifetime of abuse with, and let's say the parent is, mentally compromised, you are absolutely going to have to set boundaries. I'm a big fan of make sure that there's a new normal with this parent. Whatever the relationship was, once you went to adulthood, you need to really do a new normal and do lots and lots of boundaries. Because, and especially if you have children, let's just say, and you're sort of, you're married, you have children and all this stuff, you don't want your kids to develop the same traumas that you develop with a relationship with their grandparent. So you want to really protect them from that deeper relationship. If I'm not saying cut off, because it's very difficult to cut off a parent. I mean, it's nearly impossible for most people, and the guilt levels are so high. So I don't talk about amputation of the parent unless there's tremendous toxic, crazy, violent abuse. That's a different story. I'm talking about someone who's really, really difficult with. I say you just develop a very, very boundaried relationship with this parent that is systematic, that is not daily, not even weekly. Maybe it's monthly, where you're having a conversation, maybe once every few weeks on the telephone, in which you're very cautious about what you're revealing. You're not, if they're a person who's been abusive to you verbally, you don't, and all of those things, you don't reveal a lot. You keep it very, very systematic, and you got to get your own therapy as well. This person obviously revealed a tremendous, lots of a tremendous history of abuse with this parent, but it's not physical abuse, it's more emotional abuse. And then the parent also was, quite, has a personality disorder. So, possibly bipolar, possibly, these kinds of things. So you have to be very cautious with that parent. But then as they become older, they usually, it's a tremendous challenge for people, when the parent becomes elderly. So, if they're not in the elderly and you're sort of in your middle years, maybe your 30s, this is a time to really, really develop strength within yourself to be very, very boundaried. So you discipline yourself as to how often you call, you limit how much the children are exposed to that, and you also tremendously work on your own mental health and your own strength so that you don't give of yourself too much to this person. I think that's really powerful. Also, I would say in your description, it says here, I should mention that the dysfunction is so extreme when seeing my mom, and I have kids to protect, that I become completely bamboozled and take about 2 weeks each time to recover. You see, that is clear to me. That is clear to me, that you have children and you take a long time to recover. That says to me that you cannot afford to see this person or speak to this person more than maybe once a month if you take so long to recover. So to me, that's a really important piece, okay? And when people have primary parental relationships that are very dysfunctional, it's really impactful upon them. And so there is such a necessity to really, really, really work on tremendous discipline in terms of the boundaries and how much you spend time there. And it sounds like there's not a lot of support from your partner in that. So you need to get support from other sources, friends, therapists, maybe an online group, that kind of thing. Online groups can be free. ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, is a great free resource, and there are online groups and live groups, so that's something that people should try and access. So it's a powerful thing when you have a parent that you've grown up with, that you've sort of survived to an extent, and then now you're having to deal with them as an adult, but you're not having to deal with anybody. That's what to me, adulthood brings choice, and that's what you have to understand. Adulthood brings choice. I'm hoping some more people are going to come online, but maybe the weather is causing people some internet difficulties, and I understand that. But I can see that someone's writing something here. 34 years finally. Let's see here. Catherine, hi. Good morning. Abusive relationships. Oh yes, 34 years of it. Finally got away through 2 years of working it out. 3.5 years out now. Good for you. And boundaries are high. I have a new wonderful partner. Fantastic. Which is awesome. The teens do not push me around because of boundaries. They know what to say, and they know what I mean. They know what I say and mean. Well thought out and not changing. Fantastic. And being calm. Exactly. This is so key. Boundaries are really, the go-to with all difficulty in relationships, I would say. And when you don't have boundaries, you have a free-for-all. You have a circus. And so there is no... And people need... What I want to say to people is, when you have dysfunctional relationships, understand that guilt is usually the thing that creates non-clear boundaries. So people, deal with your guilt. Work on, read my book, do some online therapy, do some online free groups. Work on guilt. Guilt is the thing that makes people call back, that makes people, and I know, I'm a human being. I understand guilt really is the domain of the human realm. But we have to discipline that guilt so that it's just appropriate guilt. If you've harmed someone, okay, you can feel some guilt. But if you're simply guilty because you were told that you're a bad person because you don't call back, or you're not good enough because you don't do this or that, that's unreasonable, that's usually someone a parent being abusive, or a partner being abusive, or something like that. And we're not just talking physical abuse, we're talking emotional abuse. So you've got to really work on techniques to strengthen your resolve so that you don't cave every time you feel badly and guilty. And usually it's fear of loss of connection, fear and loss of connection, fear that you're not going to belong, fear that you're going to be alone, fear. All of these things feed the need to go back into the toxic relationship. So be cautious, be very, very cautious, and really work on that stuff. Now let me read another question here. What do you do when you realize that whenever your friends, and this is a person who says a couple we've known for years, disappear for a few weeks, and they are usually whining and dining someone that they are hitting up for money. They've tried to hit us up for $150,000. I realized later that they are a team at this, and they have done so this to people who have that we've introduced them to. Like hours later, I did the amputation thing when I realized what they do. Okay, so you've already cut them off. They sound like scoundrels. They sound like people who are trying to rip you off. And so if that is the case, obviously, if you know that they're trying to steal money from you and trying to bamboozle you these are not people that you can be in a relationship with, because obviously there's no trust and there's a thievery aspect to it. But let's just talk about relationships in which people, for example, let's not talk about that extreme, but to me it's clear. If they're trying to steal money from you and you realize this, and they've done it to other people, there is no relationship there that one can have. It's theft, and it's attempted theft. So, I have a thing called A, B, C, D, different groups of friendships and different expectations. Well, someone who's trying to steal from you, they're out of your life. That's a problem. I put that in the same category as, toxic and physical abuse. People trying to steal from you, it's almost impossible to have a relationship. You can't. But let's just say you have friends that you really enjoy, and then they just sort of disappear. Well, I don't know that that's necessarily a reason to amputate. No, I don't believe that. People have the right to have different friendships. You might have to downgrade them from, like, say, B expectations to C expectations. Let's say you became very close over a period of time, and you see each other all the time, and you call each other all the time, and you have all kinds of wonderful times together, and then all of a sudden they've disappeared and they've got other people. well, then you have to really readjust your expectations and possibly have a conversation. Is something going on? Did something happen? What changed? And they may go, no, nothing changed. We just have different friends that we want to expand our circle, and that's fair. So in friendships, I think it's really, really important to understand that, number one, I don't think that you need to be so close every day. I think diversity is beautiful. I think having a diverse group of people is beautiful. And if people just suddenly, as the kids say today, ghost you, what a great term. I don't like the activity of ghosting, but kids really got that right. They ghost you, meaning the person just leaves your sides, and they just no longer are there. They're there and then they're not. Poof, they're gone. Yeah, I would say that is the domain of something to see if you can have a one-on-one and go, what's going on? And, sort of disappearing without letting you know is painful and kind of a sign that you're not going to be deeply, deeply putting the expectations in such a high circle, the B circle, let's say. Certainly not the A circle. Because people in the A circle are your life and death people. People in the B circle are your people you adore, but they're not life and death people, okay? But so then C people become your acquaintances and where you have much lower expectations of them. And so I want to say that's a very reasonable place to put that kind of person. But obviously people who are stealing from you or have evidence that they're trying to manipulate you and all these things, you put them as far away from yourself as possible, because obviously that's not at all okay. My partner was ghosted, someone says here. Who says this? Catherine again. My partner was ghosted. It was devastating. It is devastating. However, in hindsight, it was the best thing that could have happened. Then he only had to deal with the lawyers and the BS with the ex, but he had the time to heal. All right. Yeah, I mean, the thing about people ghosting you is that these are not people that you can deeply, deeply trust. And if friends are ghosting you, then you need to deal with your pain and then readjust quickly. Okay, and that's important. There's so much, living to have and people to meet and experiences to be. And so don't put all your eggs in one basket and diversify and do an inventory of your friends in which you are categorizing where you put your friends. In my book, I talk about A, B, C, D, and, do the inventory about where you will put your friends, because I think it is powerful as an exercise to really, really not bank all of your eggs in the one basket of friendship. And I have another one here that talks about what do I do in a relationship which is always off and on, and always, the person is, I'm going to paraphrase because it's a long one. The person is always in their child, even though you maintain your adult. And what does one do in that? And so I want to just say that what one does in that is, I'm going to pause on my thought here because Catherine says, I'm going to teach my grandchildren, partners, children about the ABCD. Yeah, it's a good idea. Because the thing about Catherine, let me just tell you, the thing about that particular inventory that one does is one immediately adjusts their expectations. It's like, oh, you're really a C person. You're not a B person. You're a C person. I love you, but you're C, which means I don't have a lot of expectations of you. Okay? So, and that to me is so powerful as an exercise. And every time I do it with clients, it's like a revelation. So do it with yourself so you can have your own revelation. So the relationship that I'm referring to right now, let me go back to it, is the person they're in their life is constantly in their child. They're constantly in the why me, poor me. They're constantly having tantrums. But the other partner is always maintaining, they say, being very much in the adult, and nothing is changing with the other person. And obviously cooperation is very hard, and sharing of duties is very hard, and having an adult relationship is very hard. My question to this person is, if they keep showing you who they are, why are you not believing them? To me, it's a show, don't tell proposition. Watch the actions of the person. If the person keeps showing up in this very childlike way in which they don't take responsibility for themselves, in which they're completely and constantly being childish and victim-y and all of this thing, and they don't participate in the relationship in an adult way, the question I have for you is, why do you keep going there? That would be my question to you. Because the best way to grow a child up is to, especially a child who is an actual adult, is to no longer enable them. I got to do some water. No longer enable them. Just totally let them, just say to them, this is not my monkey, not my circus. You're responsible for your own being, and you need to take care of you. I can help, but I'm not going to do it for you. And also, if there's sort of, the other piece of this question was, they are, there and then they're not, and then they're there and then they're not, this kind of push-pull. Well, I don't know that people who have relationships with people who are pushing and pulling, and they're there and then they're not, and then they're there and then they're not, that's a recipe for a lot of abandonment feelings. Now, Eduardo says to us, sometimes I feel like all the work I have done about healing is not working, and I just want to quit and accept that the damage is irreversible. No, don't quit. Eduardo, everyone comes from some kind of damage. It's not where you've been that matters. It's where you're going that matters, and where you are right now. You have to keep working on yourself. I mean, I know it's the journey is relentless. The journey is relentless. You absolutely, the damaged child is so deep inside. Listen, everyone has their damaged child. But you have to work on loving yourself and being kind to yourself and drawing boundaries and working on the abandonment issues. But never quit. Never quit. Never just stop having relationships. I don't think that that's a good idea. But yeah, I would say that 90% of people come from damaged backgrounds. Can I get an amen on that? And in the words of the lovely RuPaul in Drag Race, which this terrible weather had me watching and binging this weekend, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love someone else? Because you got to love yourself. You got to work on you. So funny that I'm quoting RuPaul. I love RuPaul. Anyways, the point is that everyone, 90% of people come from damaged backgrounds, from traumatic, difficult, abandoned backgrounds. And most of the people on this planet that are walking this planet are coming from those backgrounds, which does not mean that it is easy. Period. It does not mean it is easy. But it means that you have a job to do on this planet, which is to help the planet. And the only way you're going to help the planet is if you take care of yourself first and become whole. And when you're whole, you will provide joy and love and service to the planet. And that means you don't give up. Because guess what? You're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the planet too. That is the motivation. Help the bigger picture by first helping the self. Does that make sense, everybody? Does that make sense? Okay? This is so important. I want to just say that this beautiful pendant that I'm wearing here today is given to me by my lovely friend Heidi Allen, who is the founder of the Positive People Army, and she gave it to me for my birthday, and I just love it and treasure it. Thank you, Heidi, darling, for this beautiful pendant. And I'm going to, these were the questions that I wanted to talk about, these 4 questions. Catherine says, I teach that if you do not put on your own oxygen mask first, exactly, you cannot help others. You know what I mean? So it's the truth. Thank you for saying that. If we're going to help the planet, and the planet is in need of some help, people, you got to help yourself first. It's not a narcissistic, futile, selfish pursuit to help yourself first, Eduardo, and everyone that's tuning in. Love yourself, heal yourself, work on yourself, and then you can work on the planet, and that's what I'm all about. That's why I've worked on myself. That's why I do therapy. That's why I am a therapist. That's why I do these lives, is because I know I want to see if I can, inspire others to to be good to themselves and then to be good to others and to have healthy relationships so that they're not exhausted from toxic, difficult relationships, you know? And a couple of rules: have boundaries. Boundaries are where you don't numb out your feelings and you decide, what do I need and what do I want and what's working for me in this moment. That's a boundary. And you say no accordingly, or whatever it may be. Number 2, take care of yourself first. As Catherine says, put your own oxygen mask on first so that you can, you know, help someone else once you yourself are full of oxygen and full of life. And be mindful of your inner child who needs healing and needs love. Be your own parent. Be your own loving parent. And seek out support in friends, therapists, online free groups, that kind of thing. Seek out support. You know, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families is a wonderful 12-step group that is free, that you have live groups and you have online groups. Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. It's called ACA, okay? Check out that resource. And the other piece is decide that in a relationship, if they keep showing up in a certain way over and over and over, pay attention. Believe people when they show you who they are. I think Oprah said that, or Ayanala said that. Ayanala Van Zandt said that. You know, believe people when they show you who they are. Don't believe when they tell you who they are. Oh, I'm fabulous, I'm amazing. No, what are they showing you? What are they showing you? Good. I'm rereading some parts in your book, said Eduardo. Good. I'm glad you do that, because remind yourself. Don't just go by your own devices. Get inspired by other good information, okay? And reading my book is important. You know I try and sell my books also by these things, but I'm going to tell you right now, I wrote these books because I really wanted people to understand that there is hope. And outside of my office, people can't always come to see me. These books, all of my work in there. So find your self-culture, moving from depression and anxiety to monumental self-acceptance. Catherine, I just want to, okay, I'm going to read that in a moment. Yes. Be a good example for the kids, absolutely. And the second book is Connecting, Rewire Your Relationship Culture. This book is all about rewiring how you do relationships. And hop over to visualizationworks.com. And also, I'd really like it if you join my group, Positive Self-Culture, Relationship Culture, Family Culture, which is my Facebook group. And it's an area, it's a group of support. And also, hop over to my page, which is my speaking page, Victoria Lorient-Faibish Motivational Speaker, and see if you can give me a rating, a 5-star. If you like how I speak, give me a rating and hop on over there and like that page. So I just want you to know, please have a good day. This has been a small group of people coming in, but I will come in tomorrow again. I'm going to do a meditation one of these days this week, and I'll let you know when, where I'm going to be guiding you through a meditation of healing the inner child. So if you're interested, please hop in 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, Toronto time, and Eastern Standard Time, EST. And I would love to have you join me as I'm going to do a really powerful Heal the Inner Child meditation. Okay, have a beautiful day and stay dry, stay warm. And spring, could you please come already? All right. Mwah. Love you.